you check the children? Show a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Benvenidos, Fright fans! Welcome to the horror show. I'm Jaime and Fuego, and I am very pleased to welcome you to this installment of the horror show, obviously, and talking about a new release, Solo status. And yeah, I have not been the biggest bit on the channel recently because of the fact that, yep, a little bit of a collegiate return to school at Arizona State. But I'm talking, yeah, I made the time for the new Brandon Cronenberg, and that is nothing other than Infinity Pool. And so, big thing about Brandon Cronenberg, obviously, son of David Cronenberg, and even I think Brandon's sister is a director at this particular point, if I'm not mistaken, and so that's something to take into consideration. But the apple does not fall far from the stylistic tree with their father, David Cronenberg, who, I mean, between Shivers, The Brood, remakes like The Fly, even later things where he was veering into a little more accessible territory like Eastern Promises and History of Violence, adaptations of graphic novels in that regard. So David Cronenberg, the father, has been very intriguing. Now, Brandon Cronenberg, who is responsible for Infinity Pool, a little bit different. He is much more visceral, much more abrasive, much more in your face. He as I was talking with my partner about after walking out of the theater for this film, it was very much like kind of the Stephen King, Joe Hill sort of dynamic, where it's like, okay, I know I'm working in the same medium as my father, and I need to branch out, and I need to just differentiate with, audacity, so to speak. And that is very much the way that Brandon has done. Infinity Pool, overall thoughts, as we're going to talk about, and the way we format things here. I did not love this movie, but I found it incredibly intriguing, and I am not going to spoil anything until the very end. And so that is a big component here because of the fact that there is very spoiler-worthy dissertation, speculation that is associated with this particular film that I think is very incredibly important and really just yields to the enjoyable experience of this film a little bit more. So there are films where, everything is very just like by the numbers and you understand every aspect of it. It hits you in the feels, you test it, whatever, variable it may entail, but you still feel like you understand it. This is one of those movies where it's a little more on the meanderous side of like uncertainty. And I enjoy films like that. And that is probably what ups this film, because if I'm going to be fair, it really is... Okay, I've given kind of, proper impressions and so on and so forth, but if I'm going to give like a bit of the story with regards to this, it is really about the fact that we have a vacationing entitled couple, one of which is the hanger-on, that's the Skarsgård character, and his wife, who is rich and who he is married, and he is a author, so to speak, who has published one book, and he is married to her, presumably to get his book published. Her father is prestigious, all that different stuff. And so they're vacationing in a portion of Europe that is, from the vibes we get at least, like previous Soviet Union, but yet there are a lot of clues about the fact that this is most definitely a different reality, alternate reality. Most notably when you see in one of the final scenes of the film the actual date of when our said character is leaving said resort and finally returning to the States. And that's not spoiling anything, that's just saying that there are clues throughout this film. And yet, despite the fact that there are clues throughout this film, despite the fact that it is brilliantly shot and it's amazing to look at, props to you, Brandon Cronenberg. Did I love it? No, I did not. But different strokes for different folks. I will definitely say that the story-wise plight of our Skarsgård character, who is our main, our protagonist, he is there with his wife initially, who is, the daughter of this big publishing, gigantuan sort of thing, and the fact that he can't even figure out his next book and all that other stuff, whatever. He's trying to find some inspiration in this place, formerly USSR, from what I can gauge. And so he's there with his wife, and then that's where he meets Mia Goth, who is legit the new, hot girl in horror Hollywood, specifically, and with due reason. I mean, I enjoyed Mayday. I really enjoyed her in, Cure for Wellness, I think was the name of the Gore Verbinski film. So those are at least the first two that come to mind, but she was right for trying and just maximizing on the capability of being a leading lady. She's not a leading lady in this. She is very much more so a noir femme fatale, but to a very effective and irritating sort of ilk. So it's not Chinatown sort of thing where there's still the enticement and whatever. She endears herself to us initially, being Mia Goth, as opposed to the other leading lady in the Stanley Kubrick film. But god damn, she is effectively aggravating in so much that she does in this as a woman who is married to another man, who is trying to get our Skarsgård character to just kind of chuckle along. And this is where, without spoiling this film, and I cannot recall the specifics of what is shown in the trailer, I don't want to spoil for those who may have not even seen the trailer. Needless to say, Skarsgård's character on a vacation, if I'm going to hit the story, if we're going to, do the proper things here on the horror show, Skarsgård's character, he finds himself he gets involved with this nasty crew of degaff rich people who are staying at the same resort as him. There is a perpetuation of crime. There is varying aspects of consequence, I suppose, based on certain technological things in this alternate reality. And that's about all that I can say. And so that is where I find a fascination aside from my initial condemnation. Because I'm watching this with my partner, and she leans over to me and she is like, how does this country have these technological capabilities to do what is a big crux of the story? Well, you have to pay attention and realize that this is not our world, and this is even years before our world, 2014 to be specific. So yeah, these are little details that I suppose explain away some of the just negative marks, so to speak, of this particular film. But Skarsgård's great. Story-wise, it's very much the tension between him and his wife, because he hasn't produced the second book, and then a second fan, so to speak, in the Mia Goth character and her French husband, or a Swiss husband, I should specify. By way of Paris, where they met. There is obviously an aspect of fandom that Skarsgård's wife does not feel is okay, and she is alienated, and okay. This is one of the films where it is so tough not to spoil, because we veer after the aggravation of Skarsgård's wife and her just inevitable departure, I suppose. We veer into psychedelia with native plants from the region. We delve deeper into class warfare, and even most specifically the fact that rich people can get away with hideous crimes of just carelessly killing. And so there is a deep bit that Brandon Cronenberg is talking about in this movie. One of the most hilarious aspects, though, is the fact that he is a nepo baby. He is the son of a very prestigious, very successful sort of person, so his critiques and condemnations maybe fall a little bit off base. I don't friggin' know, man. Is it a good movie? Yes. Is it a great movie? Most definitely not, in my opinion, because of the fact that, yes, it meanders, and it kind of finds itself away from okay, what's a better way of putting it? So, the crowd, without spoiling things, that Skarsgård's character finds himself mixed up within, they most definitely wear out their welcome, similar to how the film wears out their welcome, where when you look at his character and he just wants to be done with them. And another uncertainty that never makes a lot of sense is that, you know, you're trying to figure out why, like, they're so fixated upon him, you know, and they were pre-fixated, as one line of dialogue is said early on in the film. And just like there's an early on bit of dialogue about how all nations can clone, and so this is alternate reality sort of thing, that's not even going to spoil much for you. It's just, you know, something that is passingly mentioned. But yeah, weird film, kaleidoscopic in its imagery, especially with the sexual and hallucinogenic sort of scenes, which were great. You know, if you can do it in camera, why would you fucking post? Like, I don't know, but this Brandon has learned from his father, I would say, and so that's cool. But yeah, really, at the end of the day, this movie feels like a lost opportunity to me until the ending. The ending is cathartic, and this is where I will, yes, cut it out. Joey Gladstone status. Okay, I've said everything. We don't typically have spoilers in our horror show stuff unless it's like very essential. Okay, so my theory is that you see that there are 3 urns at the very end, guys. Okay, there were 5 versions of him. So, okay, let's keep the tally. All right, so there is the original version of James. There is the first execution of James. There is the second execution of James where there was the break-in. There is the third execution of James where you think that it's actually, you know, the detective or whatever did not kill that guy. They left him to be. And then there is the 5th and final execution of James. So one has to still be around and kicking and so on, right? All right. So the 5th one is most definitely the dog that he kills at the very end. So, yeah, the stand-in, the guy who was there for the detective, not killed. Scar on the eye, not killed. James, essentially, in my estimation, sent back because he is so fucked up, sucking on bloody mammary glands, so I can maybe, hopefully, maintain our our visibility and so on. But yeah, that's where I'm at, guys, and that is seemingly the most fun about this Brandon Cronenberg film, is the fact that everybody's speculating about, they even addressed it in the movie, right? You know, was Skarsgård's character like the original, or was he a copy, and like 9 Inch Nails, a copy of it? Who knows? Fascinating stuff. It's what elevates this movie to a more intriguing level than, for me, what was a little grating and where I was kind of bored with it. I mean, most notably where James it's like Mia Goth, dude. Okay, I know she probably filmed this long before she did Pearl and everything. She is nails on a chalkboard, which is what I was hoping to, recalibrate there. But god damn, she is. And why did these rich people even give that much of a fuck about this particular guy? Because they even say at one point that, no, we wanted you, but we didn't know how we could reel you in, and you made a big mistake by running over the person, which we see in the trailers, and so we were able to enfold you in the first place. So I don't know, man. This is a movie that is going to incite immense dialogue throughout the rest of the year, and I think that's a good thing. And shout out to Sinister Cinema and Jason Smith, and the fact that anytime we have people going to a cinema, going out to a theater and watching something, that is big time badass status. That is a support of the genre. That is what is going to continue things propelling forward. And so, Jason, shout out, man. I hope you watch this, and I watch all your stuff, man, and myself and Cecil, the girls, everybody on the horror show, Robert, we most definitely give a massive shout out to you. And yet, Infinity Pool was not particularly to my liking, despite positive aspects associated. So what do you guys think about it? If you are a patron, give some information below. If you want to give us a suggestion about something that we should watch, cruise on down. That is the big thing, especially in January as we are going through like a channel retooling, relaunch, and all that other stuff. I'm very happy that Cecil gave me the opportunity to give a little bit of discussion about a controversial film, to say the least. But I still enjoyed it. It's not great, but it's intriguing, and that's one of the biggest and most imperative factors to mention with regards to this. I've been Jaime and Fuego. You can find more on all social media sectors, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube. But obviously the like, the share, the subscribe here with the horror show is the most important. So in any event, I've been Fuego. Y'all been rad status, and until the wheel of horror comes around once more, and that is a wheel of Ka, specifically. Hasta luego, San amigos, and we're going to talk some more fright-tastic stuff sooner rather than later. I'm very much looking forward to it. Peace.